Hi, it's Steve Rowe at Center City Hypnosis again, and I'm doing this clip today because recently I did a demonstration at a radio station, a live demo, where I used hypnosis very rapidly to change a habitual behavior that had been bothering one of the people at the radio station. And I wanted to do this video because I wanted to make sure that it was clear as to how and why that sort of thing, that very rapid kind of behavioral change, which was used for demonstration purposes, it's not necessarily something that people should assume is going to happen in all cases for everyone with all the different types of issues. It kind of gets to this idea of whether or not hypnosis is a magic pill. You're probably very familiar with that concept, and a lot of people will try to tell you that, well, hypnosis is not really a magic pill. To set your expectations correctly, that kind of thing. And I tend to agree with that. I do agree with the idea that you shouldn't tell people that it's like a magic pill, that kind of thing, because that sets the wrong expectations a lot of times. But in some sense, I do think it is has effects that can be kind of magic pill-like. And it really depends on the person, the issue that they're working with. And this can be related a lot to things, especially with habitual behaviors that people have problems with that they want to get rid of. So I drew a little diagram here once again to help kind of make this clear. Here we have a little model that kind of is one representation. Excuse me, I'm trying to get this marker open here. One model that represents someone who has a problem behavior maybe, and in one scenario, one possible scenario, that behavior is being driven, is being given energy by some sort of emotional things going on, some sort of thought patterns maybe, belief systems that were established at a certain point, and that's driving the unwanted behavior. Now the second possibility is that there's a behavior that's going on, like some unhealthy, unwanted behavior, but it's really just kind of something that, what's that called? I don't even know the word, but just something that's kind of left over from some previous life situation, some sort of emotional things going on, some sort of beliefs that someone maybe has outgrown or something like that. So there's two different possibilities there. Now, the thing is, people's behavior can be pretty rapidly changed within hypnosis, and it's pretty impressive when people see that happening, especially during the actual state of hypnosis. People's behavior can be altered in pretty interesting ways. And so that may cause people to think, well, why don't you just change that behavior, and there we go, the problem solved. Well, this is meant to explain why. I'm not sure that's really the most comprehensive, responsible thing to do, really, because in a situation, well, let's say the behavior is just some thing that's kind of left over from previous things. That's fine, because then we get rid of the behavior. Well, everyone's happy. It's fantastic, But there's also the possibility that the behavior is, like I said, is being driven by currently existing things, emotions, thought patterns, belief systems, that sort of thing. And if you think about it, if we would take away that behavior, if the unconscious would even allow us to take away the behavior in the first place, if we would take away that behavior, and then there's nothing there, the chances are that behavior at a certain point will reemerge, because this pattern will somehow begin to express itself in some possibly a similar way, or maybe even a different way, to kind of release and express whatever's going on there. Now, an example of this would be in the realm of smoking. For example, smoking cigarettes. Smoking cigarettes is a lot of times just a silly residual habit that's kind of been left over from when people are teenagers, that sort of thing, kids. So let's say, for example, at a certain point, someone, a lot of people when they're teenagers, they want to be accepted, they want to fit in, they want to feel more grown up. So those feelings are typically in adults, not really too much of a factor in their lives. At a certain age, people just really stop caring. A lot of people, but so then those things kind of aren't there, and then the cigarette habit is just something sticking out there still, and we just get rid of it. Very, 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 very easy. No matter how long they've been smoking, and it doesn't, matter. It really doesn't matter because the stuff is not driving the behavior. But let's say someone started smoking, and I'm just using smoking as an example. It could be anything really. But let's say someone started smoking because, let's say they had, they had no way of expressing, good feelings about themselves. They had no sort of control in their life. Things around them were very bad, unstable at a certain age, and they started picking up smoking. And then let's say they still feel that way in some way. They still feel like their life is out of control. They still feel like they don't have, they have nothing to be proud of and that kind of thing. And smoking was, at the beginning, it was a way to control things and, assert themselves, that sort of thing, by making choices to smoke, that sort of. But anyway, and then if we take away this behavior that's expressing that, then what is the person left with, right? And a lot of times it's going to be kind of difficult to kind of get rid of this because it's kind of serving a purpose there. If we don't tackle that, it's kind of going to be difficult to get rid of that. And even if we do get rid of that somehow, that will maybe kind of begin to reemerge at a certain point or express itself in a different way, an unpredictable way, which we don't want to necessarily do. So I'm looking over here because I got notes, by the way. So in an ideal world, if we just tackle the behavior and all these scenarios, and it's two different types of scenarios, if we just tackle the behavior, and in an ideal world, and the behavior reemerged or something, or a person had another problem as a result, then in the ideal world, people would come back and say, well, there must be some other aspect to this problem that I need to work on, and I just need to work at take it from a different angle, that kind of thing, and they continue to work on it. But the reality is, in the real world, when that kind of thing happens, people, this is just human nature. That what they'll say is, oh, it didn't last, or I'll go back to this habit, that kind of thing. So that's what really happens in reality, and that's the truth. So taking that into account, that's why I believe that it's more responsible to kind of tackle both these things at once. Because obviously, if all we did was tackle the thought patterns, the emotional drivers, that kind of thing, and then we totally ignore that, then that's nice, but it doesn't really seem to exert any real behavioral change. But anyway, so that's why we want, at least that's my logic for kind of taking an approach where we kind of go through, use the opportunity during hypnosis to kind of first of all figure out if there are things in here that are kind of driving these things. There might not be, what's different, who knows? But we want to be kind of comprehensive and complete as we can be, and to make sure that to make sure we deal with whatever's there, if there is anything there, and also at the same time during hypnosis to kind of do what we can to kind of encourage the behavior to change in that way. That's just the model I use. Everyone's different, of course, but that's the logic that I use. So that's I hope that explains a little bit why sometimes with some people, in some cases, in some circumstances, it can seem like there's magical pill type effects, and actually there can be even magical pill type effects within each of these different emotions. Maybe different emotions, thought patterns, beliefs. Just happen like that. But then cumulatively in more complex situations, then overall that change happens. So that's why I kind of want to do this video, because I want to set the expectations correctly. Because typically when people do hypnosis, they've tried lots of other things, and I don't think it's responsible to necessarily encourage more disappointment in that sense. And plus another thing is, if we set the expectation so that if people think it's a magic pill, and that making promises like that you can solve your problem in 15 minutes, something like that, which can happen sometimes. If we set that expectation, what that does is it would attract people who just want that kind of the surface type work to be done, and those people typically aren't really ready to actually do the actual work if it turns out to be necessary to do the actual work. And that's just kind of a pointless exercise in my view, to just kind of do this sort of temporary stuff just to make them feel a little bit better for a little while. And so that's one of the reasons I want to set that kind of expectation correctly, because it would attract the people who want that kind of magic pill type fix. So it's kind of strange, but if you I believe that if you promise the magic pill type of effects, then that attracts the people who will be least likely to succeed. But if you don't promise that kind of effect, that magical pill, passive, all life is solved, that kind of stuff, then what do? You attract people who are willing to do that kind of stuff, to do what they need to do internally to kind of experience that actual result, which could lead to magical pill effects. It's kind of weird, but human behavior is weird in general. But anyway, I'm running out of time here, and I hope this was useful to you. Okay, thanks.